My name is Katie Moen, and I am the lead reporter for the Westfield Leader. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, both in person and online. Tonight, we will hear from 8 candidates vying for 4 four-year terms on the Westfield Council. Our Ward 1 candidates tonight are Democrat Emily Root and Republican Todd Sanders. In Ward 2, we have Republican Michael Armento and Democrat Erica Vargas Garrison. In Ward 3, we will hear from Democrat Dawn Alicia Nickel-Manning and Republican Michael Domagala. And our Ward 4 candidates this evening will be Republican David Kiefer and Democrat Scott Katz. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer direct questions about issues pertaining to their specific wards, and 1 minute to offer a rebuttal to the answers posed by the opposing candidate. At the end of tonight's proceedings, each candidate will have 3 minutes to deliver a closing statement on any topic that they deem relevant. The order of tonight's debate has been determined by a coin toss. Candidates will be shown a yellow card at the 30-second mark and a red card when their allotted card has expired. With that, let's get started with Todd Sanders, our Republican candidate for Ward number 1. All right, Mr. Saunders. This November, Westfield residents will be asked to vote on a public referendum to determine the future of the Edison Fields turf project. As a reminder, a yes vote will move the project forward, while a no vote will invalidate the $11.8 million bond ordinance adopted by the council earlier this year. How will you be voting on this referendum and why?
So I want to be clear up front. I am for new fields. I was a 10-letter varsity athlete at Westfield High School. I played on all the grass and turf fields around town, and it is very clear that we need new fields. I also want to say that I grew up right behind Edison Field, and I understand where those neighbors are coming from. Right? We all have to understand where they're coming from. But like One Westfield Place, to me, the Edison Field is more about the process. Why did a petition have to force this to be a vote? That's what really gets to me. Why can't we vote on putting the fields on other locations like Tamaulipas or even the Conservation Center? Why can't we vote on spending the $11.8 million on grass and maintaining it? With this administration, we are constantly given one option. And with this administration, it's their way or the highway, and that's what bothers me most. Now, with that said, I do appreciate that the administration decided to run a real, true due diligence process and an RFP, request for proposal, on the $11.8 million Edison Field project. I appreciate that. A project that we did actual due diligence on. But this does open up a big question for me. I still don't understand why our administration ran an RFP, request for proposal process, on an $11.8 million field, but not for a $400 million One Westfield Place project that's going to change our entire town. The largest project in town's history and one of the largest projects in New Jersey's history. Instead, we gave the development to a massive corporation. If you're going to do an RFP for an $11 million field, you can do an RFP for a $400 million change of the entire downtown.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that we have some very passionate voters here tonight, and we are very appreciative of that fact, but in the name of time, and in order to give our candidates the equal opportunity to say what they need to say, let's please hold the applause and the commentary until the end of tonight. Thank you very much. All right. Now we will turn to Emily Root. Same question, 1 minute rebuttal. Ms. Root, how will you be voting on the Edison referendum and why?
Well, I will be voting yes on the Edison referendum, just like I voted on this dais a year ago. Our grass fields are excessively overused, and with turf, we can have our grass rest and still use it. We are one drought away from destroying your grass investment. When it rains on the field, it rains on all of them. And no, we can't use Tamaulipas Field or any other Green Acres field somewhere else because we would have to let other towns play there too first. But because Edison's Fields is not a Green Acre field, we could have it be just for our town only. Thank you.
All right. So our next question is again for Ms. Root.
Oh. Yeah.
The Westfield Town Council has recently entered into a series of redevelopment agreements, two of which, Westfield Crossing and 1 Westfield Place, involve long-term tax abatements known as pilots. What is your position on pilot agreements, and would you support their inclusion in future projects?
That's a great question. First, I want to debunk the myth that payments in lieu of taxes are only for urban areas. Pilots are used all over the state, including in suburban and rural areas. We see them in towns like Summit and Cranford and Princeton. So guys, pilots do not indicate the status of a town. We only have 2 pilots because we use pilots carefully and thoughtfully. In Westfield, we have these 2 pilots at Westfield Crossing and one at 1 Westfield Place. And a pilot can be beneficial because when it's used in conjunction with that redevelopment agreement, it allows the town to have a seat at the table. It allows the town to exert greater control over that development. Another benefit of a pilot agreement is that the municipality gets to keep 90% of the revenue instead of sending a big chunk of it to Elizabeth. I know that we do not want to be sending most of our tax money to the county. I think, and we can spend these pilot revenues to make improvements in our town that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to make. And these improvements would have fallen instead on the taxpayers, and I know we don't want that. So, thanks.
All right. Mr. Saunders, 1-minute rebuttal, same question. What is your position on pilot agreements, and do you support their inclusion in future Westfield projects?
Yeah, I think there are other ways that we can support projects. If you guys saw a video on Facebook recently, Councilwoman Root put up a video that said we needed 1 Westfield Place in order to fix the dangerous intersection between North Avenue and I think that's Elm Street. To be clear, I am for redevelopment, which I think we need to talk about, but I am against the current project of 1 Westfield Place. There was no formal RFP proposal project. We did 0 RFPs. The administration, if we're going to talk about pilots and money, we should talk about the administration skirting all zoning laws by marking our entire town as blighted. I want to be clear, that's our entire town is blighted. So they can build whatever they want with no zoning laws anywhere. We also now have one landlord, a mega corporation, who is going to own a monopoly in a majority of our downtown. So if we're going to talk about pilots, we should talk about who is involved in the pilot and who we are giving the entire downtown to. Councilman Root also mentioned in the leader, most recently last week, that homes close to 1 Westfield Place are going for above
Mr.
asking
Saunders,
price.
that's time.
Okay.
So because these 2 issues are incredibly important to our community at this particular junction, each set of candidates will have the opportunity to weigh in on the same issues. So moving to ward number 2. Ms. Vargas Garrison. How will you be voting on the Edison Fields referendum and why?
I am 100% supporting this referendum, and I'll tell you why. The project addresses the long-standing capacity issue that's been impacting our community for decades now. Parents are driving their kids to other municipalities where at the end of the day, they end up playing on turf fields anyway. And because Edison Fields is the only field, the only one, okay, not designated as a New Jersey Green Acres facility, only Westfield residents will use it. If the program is implemented, more than 40% of Edison will remain natural grass, and more than 85% of town fields will remain natural grass. So in addition to that, this is a great opportunity to improve the neighborhood's stormwater infrastructure. And for all of those reasons, I support this referendum.
Right. All right, Mr. Armento, now back to you for a 1-minute rebuttal.
Prior to the mayor taking office, there was a Tamaqua Park plan for fields that was essentially approved. After the mayor took office, she decided she wanted a grander project because, quote, we were not thinking big enough. This would be well vetted and completed by the fall of 2019 and 2020. She asked to be held accountable. I asked, where is accountability? There's no accountability. The project was not well vetted. Within a few days of the project being approved, there was a petition for a referendum, and within a few weeks, there were enough signatures to bring it to a referendum. The cost of the project is now $2 to $3 million more than previously quoted. The issues of parking and traffic still have not been fully addressed and were not addressed at the town council meeting. If approved, it will not be completed in 2025. I had two children that grew up in Westfield. One's a sophomore. Last year, before I even knew I was running for town council, I was at the Westfield freshman girls soccer game looking at the field, and there's a baseball diamond in the middle of the soccer field. I said to someone, this is totally unacceptable. We live in Westfield. I strongly feel that we need to have the safest, best playing fields for our children in this
Mr.
town.
Armento, that is time. All right. And Mr. Armento, this question is also for you.
Okay?
What is your position on pilot agreements, and would you support their inclusion in future Westfield projects?
The reason why I'm running for town council was because of One Westfield Place. I realized that this pilot project was not a good project for our town. We were giving our town's property away to one of the wealthiest corporations in the country. There was no bidding process. The pilot program of One Westfield Place is giving them, Lord and Taylor they own, but the South Side Street train parking lot and multiple other areas that were deemed in need of redevelopment. 60% of our tax dollars go to fund the Board of Education. A pilot's money is not guaranteed to go to the Board of Education. The pilot project owners, they pay property tax on the land, but not on the building. Therefore, they're paying no taxes on the buildings that they are building. Therefore, the Board of Education is not getting guaranteed money. The mayor has previously said that the school board budget is always is guaranteed to be funded, and that is a true statement. It is guaranteed to be funded, but where is that funds coming from? It's either coming from increasing our taxes or using our reserve fund. It's not coming from the taxes from the pilot program because they're not paying any taxes except on the land, which is minimal. The project should have been given out in a bidding process, in a bidding project where we could have tried to got more for our more money for our land, which we did not do. I am sure there are people out there that would have bid much higher to get prime property, including the South Side train station parking lot. So I think that the pilot programs are beneficial in certain circumstances, but in this circumstance, One Westfield Place is giving away our town to a wealthy company and basically giving them a tax break while the residents of Westfield are paying high taxes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Armento. Ms. Vargas Garrison, same question.
Thank you. I'd like to clarify this idea that the schools, for some reason, are going to be left behind because with the pilot program, they get absolutely no funding. I want to just make clear that the schools are always funded. It's a legal requirement. There's no such thing as skipping out on payments for schools. Okay, so I support the pilots. I support them conditionally. They're useful in some circumstances, not all, but in the case of One Westfield Place, a pilot was used and the administration was able to negotiate low-density project and designate 70% of the units as 55 years and older. That would not have happened without the pilot. And that's something that I am completely in support of.
Thank you very much. Now, just keeping track of myself here. All right, Ms. Nickel-Lanning, do you support pilot agreements, and would you support their inclusion in future Westfield projects?
When it comes to pilot agreements, payment in lieu of taxes, I believe that you have to make sure that all of the ramifications are looked into. They can be supported conditionally in some cases where needed. So in the future, if there's something that needs to be done as far as improvements, the pilot should be used as a tool to help us to do responsible growth and development. Other municipalities have similar uses of pilots, such as Summit, and I don't think that it should be any different for us here in Westfield.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to turn to Mr. Jomagala. Same question.
Sounds good. As far as pilot programs go, with what's in town right now, I'm against them. I think we had a misnomer earlier with Ms. Vargas. She said that the schools will still be funded. Of course they're going to still be funded. We're Westfield. It's going to happen. Beyond that, the pilot program is not contributing to that school budget. That could have been worked into the calculations. That could have been worked into the questions that the council was asking for in this process, and that wasn't done. I think in terms of taking a look at the town and seeing it as potentially blighted, I think that's a big mistake. You can develop absolutely anywhere. You can have your house sitting there, the next door neighbor decides to go ahead and sell, get it rezoned, and then put up a multi-person dwelling. And you can do absolutely nothing about it if the town council goes along with this. And if you
Ladies
like
and
that
gentlemen.
idea, keep with the pilot program and go ahead and keep with the idea that you actually own this land. The parking lots are gone.
That's time. Thank you so much. Mr. Domagala, how will you be voting on the Edison Fields referendum and why?
All right, so I think we have to also qualify something else. The answer given previously was that I'm in support of the referendum from Ms. Vargas. Not to pick on you, but to qualify this, you're either voting yes or no on the project. I love the idea of the referendum. I think that everything that we do in town should be voted upon of a particular size. And that's what I'd be pushing for on the council. If it hits a particular dollar amount, we vote on it. Everybody gets a say, it's fair, it's equitable, and I think we can be done.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Nickel-Manning, same question. How will you be voting on Edison and why?
I vote yes for the Edison Fields. The referendum is going to be on the ballot, and I think that every person here in Westfield needs to make an educated decision based on the pros and cons of the fields and take into deep consideration how this is going to affect our future generation, our children, our athletes, our marching band members, those who are actually on the field. It's important that we consider what they have to deal with and make sure that we are making a decision that's going to best fit their lifestyle.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Ward 4. Mr. Katz. Do you support the use of pilot programs, and will you be supporting them in the future?
So pilot programs are a transformative development tool used in many towns throughout the state of New Jersey, where it has played a pivotal role in revitalizing towns all across our state. Pilot programs are not just tax breaks, they represent a well-thought-out negotiated agreement between the town and the developer. These programs are not for every project, but they should be used thoughtfully and judiciously. The essence of the pilot program lies in its power as a financial incentive, a catalyst for attracting private investment in areas in need of redevelopment, not blighted. These are projects that without this tool would remain financially unviable for any substantial improvement. One of the key aspects of pilot programs is that they empower municipalities like ours to take control of the outcome. These programs provide a unique opportunity for local governments to stimulate economic benefits, create jobs, and boost the overall economic health of the community. Moreover, pilot programs have a distinct advantage over traditional taxation methods. Instead of getting 16% to the town, we'd receive 95%, and 5% would go to the county. The significant difference enables the town to directly benefit from the development in a way that traditional tax systems often cannot achieve. I want to stress that pilot programs should not be deployed recklessly. They must be utilized only when there is a genuine need, and the town should always derive clear benefits. This tool should be reserved for projects that would not be possible without it, ensuring that it serves its intended purpose of transforming areas in need of redevelopment. In conclusion, pilots are not just financial tools, they are instruments of positive change. When used judiciously and thoughtfully, they empower communities to shape our destiny, to attract private investment, and create a better Westfield for decades to come.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kiefer, over to you.
Thank you.
Where do you stand on pilot agreements, and will you support them in the future?
No, I'm against them. I don't think our town needs them, and for a number of reasons. First, you have to understand what the pilot is and isn't. It is a payment to the town, that is right. It is also true that schools will be funded, that is also correct. But none of the pilot dollars go to the schools. For you and I, our taxpayer dollars, 60% go to the schools. So if, let's imagine for a moment, One Westfield Place doesn't fill 300,000 square foot of commercial office space, they can come back to the current council and planning board and get it zoned for residential. If that happens, it puts more burden on the schools, and who picks up the tab? The people in this room, that too. Not the largest landowner in town to be Hudson Bay. So I got a few more seconds, I want to unload a couple more things. They're also not risk-free. The town just entered or finished litigation with senior housing development on Boynton Avenue to fight for the pilot money it was rightfully entitled to. this isn't risk-free. We also, the pilot is dependent on the investment, the return on the investment that the developer makes.
Thank you, Mr. Kiefer. All right, to round out this line of questioning, Mr. Kiefer, how will you be voting on the Edison referendum and why?
I will be voting no on the referendum for the project for a number of reasons. The first is it's ill-conceived to put multiple fields in one location right across from the area that's already congested with traffic and where we already play football and track. So you're not going to even optimize the use of these fields because you're going to have to trade off with existing programs being used in that area, number one. But number two, and probably most importantly, is there are significant health concerns and environmental concerns with artificial turf. If you do not believe me, please do your own research. Google the term PFAS, P-F-A-S. I'm really asking you to do this. A couple fun facts on this. New York's Attorney General, Ms. James, just came right out and said this is a forever chemical, and she pushed back on the settlement that 3M had for $10 billion, wanting to get up to $12 billion, because this forever chemical does cause cancer and is linked to cancer. But here's the thing, we're just finding out about how bad this stuff is. And so we gotta pump the brakes on this to take more time. 4 states that we're typically aligned with in New Jersey, California, Connecticut, Vermont, and Massachusetts are all introduced legislation to completely ban artificial turf in those states. Massachusetts introduced the bill calling it, quote, emergency in nature. Now these are towns that typically progressive states like New Jersey typically follow. Why are we behind the times on this? If we push ahead in 5 to 10 years, we look like the crazy uncle from the 80s who told you that smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day was fine for your health. We gotta wake up to this. Pump the brakes. Vote no on the referendum. Let's think about this some more. And the final thing I'll say is I am not anti-fields. Don't anybody let you tell you that. We need more fields in this town. It is absolutely ridiculous that our student athletes have to travel and come home late at night. I will bring new fields to this town with 2 principles. 1, they're going in multiple locations, and 2, they're real grass.
Thank you, Mr. Kiefer. Ladies and gentlemen, I will remind you again that we need to maintain decorum in order to give each candidate the proper amount of time. Thank you for your consideration and your respect. Mr. Katz, how will you be voting on Edison and why?
I do support the project, and yes, I did vote for it here from this very seat. I believe the issue is not necessarily turf over grass, but the issue is increasing our capacity to meet the needs of our student athletes. Simply put, a grass-only option does not increase the playing time capacity needed to meet the needs of our athletes and our teams. The Edison Fields and Stormwater Remediation Project. It's a larger plan that includes grass fields. This is not the only step that we will take in fixing our needs. We have a rare shared service agreement with the town, the Board of Education, that will provide enhanced services for our taxpayers. So this is a great example how we can use a pilot program to help fund a capital project at a school. So I actually have a lot more to say on this topic. I will post my my comments on my Facebook page. So for those of you that
And that's time.
follow, you can
Thank
see
you
it.
very much.
You can see it there. Thank you, Katie.
All right. We will now be moving into some more ward-specific issues, starting with Ward 1. So Ms. Root, parking in Westfield's downtown area has long since been identified as one of the community's largest challenges. What impact, if any, do you think that the new developments will have on this situation, and what mitigation efforts would you propose to address it?
Great question. I hear about parking a lot, and when I go downtown 4 days a week, our parking structures are half full. Sorry if you can't hear me. All of the parking, including the office parking that's to come, is going to be an additional 500 parking spots. The town's biggest asset is this asphalt parking lot, but it's our fiduciary duty to our residents to not just leave empty parking, which is happening 4 days a week, with just 4 days being full. The decks that are to come are more efficient than surface parking lots because we will be using less land. We will also be having smart parking capabilities, which will reduce the need to be driving around, circling for our parking spot. So I'm looking forward to what's to come, and I think parking concerns are going to be well met. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving over to Mr. Saunders. What should we do about our downtown parking challenges here in Westfield?
Yeah, Councilwoman Root brought up fiduciary duty when it comes to parking. which is interesting to me because when I think about fiduciary duty, I think about selling our municipal parking lots in a no-bid effort for, I think, $12 or $13 million. So if we want to talk about fiduciary duties, we should probably talk about our fiduciary duties to get multiple bids on the parking lots we're just giving away. On top of that, there's in the One Westfield Place proposal, we're building 2 massive parking decks. There's going to be one on North Ave, where the UBS building is, ingress and outgress, and one of the worst intersections in Westfield. That is going to add 15 minutes each way to your commute. You're gonna have to go into that parking deck, you're gonna have to walk in the rain, in the snow, go under, go up to the south side, and go up to the train. It is going to be a worse commute for every single person commuting, and I just cannot hear anything about fiduciary duty, because we are doing nothing like that with the current administration.
Thank you very much. Mr. Saunders, this question is for you. Construction is set to begin on the first phase of the One Westfield Place redevelopment project at some point in the coming year. What do you see as the most beneficial aspect of this project, and what do you see as its greatest potential challenge?
I'm in favor of smart development, right? I believe we have to innovate, we have to change, we have to improve as a town, but we also have to realize how we got here through our colonial, unique feel and the reason people moved to Westfield. The current project is too much. 65-foot tall buildings, 2 massive parking decks, 300,000 square feet of office space. You can't turn on the news for 1 second without them saying, look at how much vacancies there are in office space. 205 residential parking apartments, and increased traffic in town where we already have issues. What's most concerning about the One Westfield Place project is actually the process. No formal RFP, we gave it away, no bids, but we felt it was okay to do bids on the Edison Field project. The administration skirting zoning laws by marking our town as blighted. Westfield is blighted. I want all of us to remember that the town council voted on that. And one landlord, a mega corporation that does not care about us, we are a speck on their P&L, are now a monopoly in our downtown. Just one person. To make matters worse, Councilwoman Root is using One Westfield Place as the answer for everything as an attempt to justify it. Quote, homes close to One Westfield Place are going above asking, reflecting the positivity of newcomers about the development. Most Westfield residents don't even know what One Westfield Place is, but somehow, according to this council and Councilwoman Root, businesses and people are moving from all over the country to be near the construction zone of One Westfield Place, and that's why home prices are going up. Median home prices are up 48% since 2020, but we should thank One Westfield Place for that. There's an easy solution. Let Hudson Bay redevelop Lord and Taylor within our zoning laws. Conduct a real comprehensive RFP process to North and South Ave like we did at the Edison Fields, thank you. Give the project to multiple developers so we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. And most importantly, hold a non-binding referendum.
Ms. Root, same question. What do you see as the biggest benefit of One Westfield Place, and what do you see as its potential challenges?
Well, I'm going to start with the challenges, and I think the biggest challenge right now is reducing the myths and misinformation, like my opponent just stated in front of all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And I am happy that I've gone to hundreds and hundreds of doors where I hear people who are so excited for One Westfield Place. I don't know if you've been going to doors, but it's been really fantastic. I hear how happy people are that we are going to be getting $54 million in public improvements so we can fix intersections. I'm excited about that. I'm excited that people 55 and older, that 70% of the housing is going to be for people 55 and older. That's amazing. I'm excited that we're going to have an office component, Class A office component, that's going to be bringing people in so they can work downtown, eat downtown, and shop downtown. I think that's fantastic. And they're all going to be walking, and that's going to be great too. So, yay. Thank you.
Moving on to Ward 2, we are going to begin with Ms. Vargas Garrison. Motor vehicle accidents along East Broad Street have become a more common occurrence in recent years. How would you make this corridor safer for motorists?
I share everybody's concern about, the impact of traffic and the intersections that need addressing. This is one of those I would say, traffic infrastructure issues that is extremely costly for our town. Our traffic infrastructure is aging, and this development at 1 Westfield Place, this pilot that so many people seem to not be too happy about, will actually provide funding for us to be able to address a lot of the issues that we currently have with traffic, with aging infrastructure. So what I want to say to that is we have a tremendous opportunity right now that we would not have otherwise if it weren't for the revenue infusion that we will be getting from this pilot program. And that will help us finance all our road projects that are in dire need of repair and maintenance.
Thank you very much. We will now move over to Mr. Armento. Same question. Motor vehicle accidents along East Broad Street have become increasingly problematic over the course of the past few years. What changes would you recommend to make this corridor safer?
Well, certainly, I think the first change that's been made already is the speed signs that have been up that are actually electronic. I think that does deter people from going over the speed limit. I think the presence of our police officers on East Broad is an excellent deterrent. I do think that all the projects that are going on in town, you have Williams Nursery, you're gonna have 1 Westfield Place, are gonna add to traffic. We talk about traffic mitigation. Traffic right now is terrible. Why do we have to wait till 1 Westfield Place is built to mitigate traffic? You're gonna have 1,000 more cars per day coming through Westfield with 1 Westfield Place. Changing the lights, changing the traffic signs, is that gonna correct the traffic problem? I don't think so. I think we need to look at what we are doing to our town. We are making it into a city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Armento, staying with you. Westfield is anticipating an influx of pilot funds over the course of the next 30 years. How would you prioritize these funds, and what types of capital improvement projects would you like to see them put towards?
Well, we'll make the assumption that the 1 Westfield Place will continue, though there's a lawsuit trying to stop it. But the pilot project funds need to go to schools, definitely. As I said in the beginning, that 60% of our taxes go to the Board of Education. We need to direct the pilot funds to the Board of Education. We also need to direct it to infrastructure. You're adding multiple residents. If we look at all the residential facilities that are going to be added, it's going to be about almost 900. That's increasing the town size by 6,000. We have not increased our infrastructure. We have sewers. We have pipes. People are complaining about flooding. We are not fixing the infrastructure. Around my neighborhood, people are complaining that every time it rains a little, it floods. We have Williams Nursery going up. When things get more congested, it's just gonna get worse. We have to work on the infrastructure. We paved the roads, we didn't fix the pipes underneath them. It seems a little backward. We should have fixed the pipes and then paved the roads. Infrastructure is essential. We are also gonna have to look at our police and fire department. If we have 65 and 75-foot buildings, we're gonna need new fire equipment to reach those buildings. We're obviously gonna need a new firehouse. If we had properly done in a bidding process, we may have been able to get a company to pay for our new firehouse. But no, we gave it in a no-bid process, and we get basically nothing from the HBC company. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, including infrastructure, making sure the funds go to the schools, and we can also use it for some fields.
Thank you very much. Ms. Vargas Garrison, same question. How should Westfield use its anticipated pilot funding? And are there any capital projects in particular that you would like to see?
So yes, this is an excellent question, and thank you for that. The funding from the pilot programs will go, as I said before, to upgrade our traffic infrastructure. Again, that is a very costly project. Without this pilot, we will not be able to afford it. There will be improvements to 10 intersections, new and upgraded traffic lights, enhanced bike and pedestrian infrastructure. I think that this is a grand opportunity for us to be able to address a lot of these long-standing issues that previous administrations have not been able to take care of on behalf of the residents of Westfield. And I would also like to note that other communities such as Princeton, Summit, Cranford, they've used pilots successfully to address a lot of their infrastructure issues. So it is a positive. And as far as the paving program, not addressing the infrastructure, that is not accurate. When the paving program was initiated, sorry, done? Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much. Our next question moving into Ward number 4, or I'm sorry, Ward 3. Didn't mean to skip you guys. All right, we are going to start with Ms. Nickel Manning. Ward 3 is home to 3 public schools, 4 houses of worship, and numerous residential communities. What would you do to increase pedestrian safety in your ward?
I think a proper signage is important. The speed boxes, ensuring that we have our crossing guards positioned in places where there's high traffic during school hours especially, and just keeping an eye on this topic. This is something that's not going to go away. I live on Central Avenue, a high traffic corridor, and it's something from June to August, there were 3 accidents right on my corner. So with that being said, it's an ongoing issue that needs to always be looked into and addressed. And I think, once again, the proper signage, having people in place such as crossing guards to ensure the safety of our pedestrians as well as our motorists.
Thank you so much. Mr. Damagallo, same question.
Same question. With a minute to go. I don't think that you said anything particularly harmful to, obviously, pedestrian safety. I do think we should have the crosswalks. I do think we have the boxes. What I don't think is what we should have done was eliminate the crossing guards at kind of every corner that we had on the streets. That happened on my corner. I actually live 2 blocks away from you at this point. It's been outsourced, and there are less crossing guards than there were before. And there's apparently a plan in place to say all the kids should walk on a particular side of the street so that they remain safe. In the event that they still get hit, there's no liability to the town, so my understanding goes. In front of Jefferson, which is right down the block from me as well, kids are constantly getting out of their vehicles. Parents let them out, they cross over, nobody there whatsoever to go ahead and stop that from happening. I think that there should be multiple areas of crossing guards, not just at particular corners in town. And we had a way to do that before through volunteers as well.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Damagallo, this question's for you. The average Westfield resident pays more than $17,000 per year in property taxes. Of that, only about 18% goes back to the municipality. While neighboring towns offer numerous services like garbage, bulk pickup, grass, and branch removal, Westfield does not. How would you prioritize municipal spending to make sure that residents get the services that they need?
Yeah, I think we've accepted too many things in town that aren't necessarily paid for by the town. I grew up down south in Jersey. Everything was essentially taken care of. I had a conversation earlier today on Wednesday with a resident. I was called, I came over, we had 2 hot dogs, great guy, and just talked about this particular problem. We don't get enough for our tax dollars here. It's exorbitant at this point. The sewers, at this point, we're also going ahead and paying additional amounts every single year. And we can continue to expect to go ahead and see that. I guess we're picking up 50% of the costs. Some other towns may have none. Some may have the entire full amount, but they're getting other services in turn. My belief is that we should do more for our residents. We should provide for the infrastructure to be working properly. I don't think we should be going to the conservatory and paying every single time we need to go there each year. I think that should be included in what we're getting. There is no reason that we can't go ahead and take some of the conservatory chips, wood chips, sell them to a particular company and say, okay, use them in neighborhoods elsewhere. How can we use the things that we have on hand in town to supplement for what we're missing?
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Ms. Nickel Manning, same question. How should the council prioritize municipal spending in order to make sure that Westfield residents get the services that they need?
I feel that the services that are provided have assisted with making sure that our taxes don't go up. When you ask for more things, you have to look for where the money is coming from to support those things. Right now, with the plans that have been made for us, you know, in bringing our recyclables and our things that we want to, for environmental purposes, the program has been working. It has been sufficient. It has even been awarded and it has been given accolades for being so productive and for the citizens participating in that program. So it's an ongoing issue. It can be discussed, but I think what we're doing now, once again, is something that is efficient and effective in how we're handling those things.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Ward 4. Okay. Mr. Katz, Do you believe that Westfield is doing enough to pursue shared services opportunities between the county and its neighboring municipalities? Which areas do you think should be considered for these opportunities in the future?
So when I think of shared services agreement, there are two things that really jump out at me, two things that I think are going very well. Obviously, our Republican candidates on the other side don't feel like they are two great projects, but I'm very proud of them. One is the shared service agreement with the Board of Education. This is a massive project. This is something that just hasn't happened at this scale in the town of Westfield in a long time, if at all. I know we've had a few shared service agreements in the past, but they were very small and very minor. This is a great way where we can partner with the Board of Education to provide first-class fields. I understand you guys are against them, but I believe this is a great way for us to work together. And the other shared service agreement, sorry, this happened to me actually the first time
Just go to the Facebook, go to the Facebook.
I have to admit, the first debate we had, I had a blank moment, and I blanked out, and I really killed myself for it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We put a lot into this. I don't know if all of you out there, we're sitting here listening to all of us, and we're all just working people here. And I take my job as a council person very, very seriously. I've spent a lot of time working on this, and I just had another moment. So. It is what it is. So, yeah, shared services agreements. Yeah, it's a really exciting topic. Thank you very much, Katie.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katz. All right. Mr. Kiefer, same question. Do you think Westfield is doing enough to pursue shared services agreements? And are there any particular areas of interest that you think should be considered for future opportunities?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to work very well. And the reason is because the bulk of what we spend our money on is our school system. And I'm not sharing that with anybody. That's our school system. The rest of it's sort of nibbling around the edges. We have a paid fire department. A lot of towns don't. I like a paid fire department. Our police department knows our town. If they have an emergency call, they know where to go. I like that. So the bottom line is, once you take the schools out of the equation, you're sort of nibbling around the edges, and I don't think you get much bang for the buck when you go into shared services. That said, I am a firm believer in efficiencies and saving money. So when the opportunity presents itself, we should jump on it. I think we do jump on one, and Scott, you take credit for this. I don't know if it was like your idea, but I know it's in place.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
But my understanding is that the Conservation Center, we actually get fees from Scotch Plains so they can use it. Bravo, great idea, right? Let's put some money, coin in our pocket. They get to throw their leaves in our yard. It's a win-win. So that's it.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Kiefer, this one's also for you.
Yeah.
Between increased property values, new construction, and general inflation, Westfield's stock of affordable starter homes has dwindled down to practically nothing. What can we do to bring young families and working professionals back to Westfield?
Well, when we talk about affordable housing, let's be clear. We live in a very expensive state. So it is very important that we provide affordable housing for residents to live. So, and the law provides for that. The way the law provides for it, though, is there's quite a hammer on towns, and that is it allows developers to take towns to court and sue them if they want to. If we reject their development idea, God forbid, they can take us to court and claim that we're not meeting our obligations under the fair housing laws. But here's the thing, and this is important. We are currently in compliance with our fair and affordable housing obligations, full stop. That will be revisited in 2025, okay? But it's important to understand that we didn't need to have the Sophia Project and One Westfield Place in order to meet any kind of affordable housing obligation. It's just not true. And when we head into 2025, we don't know what those obligations are until we get there. But I can tell you this, that once we get there, we got a few less options on where we can develop, right? We don't even have a parking lot by South Avenue, which I know some people hate because it's not attractive, but the reality is if you were gonna develop it, why did we stick 300,000 square foot of commercial office space on it when if we really needed to develop it to meet affordable housing obligations in the future, it could have been nice to have that. So it's a long way of saying that it's an important topic, it's a tricky one, and I think as a town, we gotta be really smart about how we address it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Katz.
So I think there's a difference between affordable housing, and I think the question you asked is more about affordable housing as opposed to affordable housing. I don't think she was referring to inclusionary housing. When we moved to Westfield, my wife and I, 20 years ago, we were looking for a house that we can afford. I don't quite understand how there's so many 32-year-olds that can buy a $2.5 million house. I'm not naming any names. I actually have no idea how old you are, or how much your house is.
That's appropriate.
But I just don't.
Not appropriate.
That's an appropriate comment.
Yeah, I apologize. I really,
It's been appropriate all night over there.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the question at hand. Mr. Kotz.
But my point is the housing stock we had, a very affordable housing, a very modest housing, has diminished. We've done a lot of tear downs. Our houses have turned from $500,000 houses to $1.5 million houses. All of these apartment buildings that we're building, they will be housing and considered to be starter houses. So without these starter houses, how do we draw in modest family homes in this house, so in this community? So I view these apartments as very, and I apologize, I did not mean to,
That wasn't intentional.
Guys, I apologize.
All right, ladies and
It is what
gentlemen.
it is.
Ladies and
I do
gentlemen.
apologize.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. These proceedings will not continue until everyone can please respect the candidates and what they have to say. Thank you. All right, moving back to Ward 1. All right, Ms. Root. Car thefts, burglaries, and home break-ins have been on the rise in Westfield for the past several months. What would you do to support the local police as they work to put an end to the increase in criminal activity?
Thank you for that question, and let me correct that. Car thefts and crime are not on the rise. That statement is inaccurate. Our crime still remains low. I want to express my condolences for anyone who has been a victim of crime. Having your house broken into, of course, is a traumatic experience. But as a chair of the safety committee, I want to let our residents know that our police are doing everything in their power to assure our safety. But let's keep things in perspective, as we are in fact one of the safest communities in New Jersey, and our crime has gone down, not up. For example, in 2016, there were 58 burglaries, while in 2022, there were 12 burglaries. We all know why these homes are burglarized and why cars are being stolen for the purpose of the key fobs, and we've given our police the resources that they need, and you hear Chief Batalore say it. One of these tools is the flock camera license plate readers. Since 2022, we've installed 14 at various entry points around Westfield, and we even have shared services with these flock cameras and license plate readers in Clark and Scotch Plains. Why are license plate readers so important, you ask? Because when criminals come into town looking to steal cars, they often come in stolen cars. As one of those stolen cars crosses into our border, our patrol officers, 70%, by the way, 70% of our officers are on patrol, are notified in real time. What does that mean? It means that our police officers are one step ahead of the criminals. When criminals first started stealing cars with key fobs, when criminals first started stealing cars with key fobs back in 2017, there were 28 stolen cars. But the trend has been down since 2017 with a decline, and that's because of our great work of our police department. We have the highest staff police department as well as the highest funded police department in town with a 24% budget increase compared to 2016, and I fully support our police department and Chief Batalore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Saunders, same question. What do we do to decrease criminal activity and car thefts here in Westfield?
I want to be clear up front that the Westfield cops are doing as much as they can with what the administration is giving them. It's never been a harder time to be a cop in the entire country, and I appreciate every single thing what they're doing. But here's a fact. Every 33 hours, there is a crime in Westfield. If you talk to residents, they feel less safe now than they have ever, and that is a fact if you talk to people door to door. Crime is up 42% since 2019, and larceny theft is up 75%. Councilwoman Root, who's the chair of public safety, you recently posted something on Facebook. I think you guys should all look at it, which shows that car thefts are up 46% in 2023, and burglaries are up 50%. I also want you guys also to read the police blotter. In the last week, there have been 3 burglaries, 4 vehicle thefts, and 1 person peeping into someone's house. If that makes you feel safe, then I don't know what to tell you.
Moving on. All right. Mr. Saunders, back to you. Most of Westfield's infrastructure, including many of its water and sewer lines, date back to the first half of the last century. With several new developments and apartment complexes slated for construction over the course of the coming years, what do you think the town should be doing to proactively ensure that the system will be able to withstand the increase in demand?
Yeah, I mean, you just brought up a great point. Our infrastructure is a 100-year-old plus infrastructure. We have flooding, we've got terrible intersections, we've got a lot of areas that need updating. I don't understand how we can talk about that and then still at the same sentence talk about one Westfield Place and bringing in, I think, in total, 900 more residential apartments that are already improved. Listen, we all know that the Westfield Police and the fire, they do a great job, but we're going to need them in even greater numbers than we are today once all of these people come in here. Mike Armento made a great point. The council and the mayor, we agreed to go pave a bunch of roads over the last few months. Well, why didn't we fix the actual infrastructure in it? Or why don't we fix the actual infrastructure before we agree to a zero RFP process of one Westfield Place and the 900 more apartments we're adding? So yes, we should consider looking at our infrastructure before overdeveloping our entire town.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Root, same question.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I jumped. So I just love to talk about paving, guys. Do you know how many miles of roads have been paved this year? 21. And do you know how many have been paved since 2019? 75 miles. And do you know why that is? Before, in 2016, we had an average about 3 miles of paved roads a year. But in 2018, the town implemented an ordinance that the utility company had to pave curb to curb rather than just patch it up. And I don't know what we're talking about, pipes not being taken care of. That's just not accurate. The utility companies are also in favor of this because they are taking care of infrastructure while they're paving our roads and paying for 60% of it. It's a win-win, guys.
Thank you very much. All right, back to Ward 2. Ms. Vargas Garrison, what would you do to increase governmental transparency and communication between elected officials and the residents that they represent?
I, of course, support transparency. I mean, who wouldn't? And I think that presently we have tremendous resources at our disposal to be well informed of what is going on in our town. The town website was upgraded not too long ago, a few years ago, and you can literally find every parcel of information that you're looking for, and it's efficient. It's not one of these websites where you go in and you have to really work hard to find information. It's all at your fingertips. So I believe that I would absolutely continue to support those efforts to make sure that everyone is engaged and well-informed. We also have something that I'm a big fan of is live streaming, which is taking place right now. That's another way, an efficient way to allow other residents that can't necessarily make it to meetings and so on and so forth to participate in the process. And that's something that I, as a councilwoman, would absolutely support and continue to build upon.
Thank you very much. Mr. Armento, same question.
While I agree the administration does provide information well, communication is a two-way street. It not only entails telling the residents about things, it's important that they listen to the residents. When the mayor took office, she cut the time residents can speak at town council meetings to 5 minutes only. Residents were able to speak 10 minutes prior. Residents now have 10 minutes per month to speak at a town council meeting. The Westfield Advocates presented a petition of over 2,300 signatures asking for a pause in the One Westfield Place project. There was a Tap Into Westfield survey that said 1,000 people out of 1,300 were against One Westfield Place, and a town survey indicated the residents want to keep the charm and character of Westfield. Councilman LaGrippo made a motion to put a pause on the vote. This fell upon deaf ears. There were crickets from the town council members. When I questioned the mayor and Councilwoman Root about their numbers in terms of One Westfield Place, I was told they received a lot of email support. No numbers were provided. This administration did not listen as compared to Summit, who did take a pause in response.
Mr. Armento, that's time. but this next question is also for you.
Okay, thank you.
So what does responsible development mean to you? How can we ensure that new construction both meets the changing needs of our community and preserves the historic character of Westfield?
I think responsible redevelopment can be done in Westfield. I think it entails keeping the charm and character of Westfield. Colonial Westfield has been around for a long, long time. We're putting large buildings in the center of town. We're changing it, we're urbanizing it. I think we had a lot of output from residents that came to town council meetings. As I was mentioning before about communication, the town council didn't listen to the residents. There was a significant outpouring, 2,300 people. I think you need, on the petition, I think you need to listen to what the people are talking about. This is not a minor project. This is a gigantic project. Yes, Westfield needs to be redeveloped. Can we do it within the confines or the context of our present situation and structure? Yes. Why do we need to supersize Westfield? Let's keep it the charm and character of Westfield the way it is. We can still put great buildings here, but not gigantic buildings.
Thank you very much. Ms. Vargas Garrison, same question. What does responsible development mean to you?
Well, this responsible development is a prime example of responsible development is One Westfield Place that was just awarded the Smart Growth Award because of the way that it's been developed, because of all the interaction within the community. It wasn't a decision that was just made behind closed doors. And one thing to remember, that it's no coincidence that 40 new businesses have moved into our downtown district since 2020. These projects are bringing in businesses, and we have a responsibility to make sure that we set them up for success, not failure. And that's part of what this responsible development is for. We want to make sure that our town remains thriving, not the way it was, 10 years ago or so.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving back into Ward 3. Ms. Nickel-Manning. The Westfield Historic Preservation Commission has identified tear-downs by neglect as one of the largest challenges facing the community's historic homes and properties. What can we do to ensure that landowners and developers take responsibility for these important pieces of our local history?
Through this administration, it has been the first time since the Historic Preservation Ordinance came into existence. People who want to put their homes on the preservation historic list, they do it by choice. Also, this program, or this decree, so to speak, helps protect our historic buildings, buildings such as Arcanum Hall, the Rialto, because developers can't just come in and just tell us what to do or tear down those preserved historic buildings. So this has helped, and I think that in the future, and when we speak about keeping Westfield with that colonial appeal, that this historic preservation idea and program will help reserve our historic buildings and the decorum of how Westfield presents itself.
Thank you very much. Mr. Domagala, same question. How do we protect our historic properties here in Westfield and avoid tear down by neglect?
First, stop One Westfield Place. That's pretty simple. That's not historic in any way, shape, or form. It's going to destroy the character of the town. I think that's a problem. I think on top of it, I think the neighborhood should decide. I don't think it should come down to the council voting on a particular home. I think that the surrounding residents should say, hey, these are homes that we would like to go ahead and keep in their current state. If a resident would like to go ahead and change the color of its home, change the shutters, go ahead and purchase windows that may not be colonial and incur these extra costs, I think it's a reasonable expectation that the neighborhood goes ahead and makes that decision, that we put it back in the residents' hands. I think that the council can make suggestions. I think that they can set the kind of guidelines or standards for it, but I don't think the council should be able to go ahead and decide upon a home being historic. Just my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Mr. Domagala, staying with you. The Westfield Fire Department is rapidly outgrowing its headquarters on North Avenue, and our emergency medical teams are struggling to attract new volunteers to their squads. How would you address Westfield's current public safety concerns, and what should we be doing to prepare for the future?
It depends what our future is going to be, obviously, size of our buildings. That's probably the One Westfield Place side versus the not. We need larger fire trucks. We need to be able to reach higher heights, and that will be coming to us whether we like it or not. Eventually, we are going to grow. We can't stay locked in time. I'm a proponent of responsible development. I think that we should be developing. I don't think One Westfield Place at 70 feet makes sense to me. I don't think that we need fire trucks capable of reaching 70 feet at this particular point. I would propose, and I have in public, that One Westfield Place is 2 to 3 stories high. We incorporate some of the ideas that we have as a town, turf fields, put it on top of One Westfield Place. There's enough for soccer, there's enough for batting cages, and all of these easily accessible in the case of a fire engine getting to a particular emergency. In terms of having the numbers of people we need, pay them appropriately. I'm not saying egregiously appropriately. I'm saying what a fair salary is in the state so that they can live here and enjoy what we have as a town to offer.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nickel-Manning, same question.
I believe we need to support our emergency services by having discussions and proper assessments to look into the needs and the resources that are required so that they can properly function and service our town.
Okay, there, thank you very much. All right, back to Ward 4. Excuse me just 1 second. There we go. Okay. Mr. Katz, what are your thoughts on the town's efforts to manage stormwater runoff and flooding? What initiatives would you like to see implemented to make the town more resilient to severe rainfall or, conversely, heat waves and droughts such as we experienced last year?
I'm glad you asked that, Katie. In Ward 4, I think stormwater management is our most important topic of discussion. I think the silver lining in the Edison Fields project was all of the attention that was paid towards the flume or the Robinson's branch of the River. We know that there's some old infrastructure there from the Army Corps of Engineers. They have been out. They have been out. We have instituted the work, the Westfield Infrastructure Resiliency Committee. It's a mouthful, but it is a committee that is put together to look at short-term, medium-term, and long-term effects on our stormwater, and to look at the progress, to look at the work that's needed in a holistic view for the town of Westfield as a whole. As of late, what we've done is institute some underground sewer visualizations. It's a little hard to say, sorry. Visualization equipment. Basically, we have little robots that are going underground. They have cameras on them, and we are pinpointing exactly the areas of need, and our fantastic Public Works Department has the ability to go in and do all the work in-house. So we do have a lot to do, but it is impressive what we have done so far. We had some storms a few years ago that caused some flooding. If you all notice, we've had quite a bit of rain over the last several weeks. I have to say, as a council person, after your ward floods and there's damage to houses and to families, every time it rains, like it's rained recently, and I see Councilwoman Mackey nodding her head, we worry about it. We stay up nights, listening, waiting for those texts, phone calls, emails about our residents. So it is a huge issue. I'm glad you brought it up. And like I said, I'm glad that the Edison Fields.
Thank you. Mr. Kiefer, same question.
Yeah, drainage and flooding is a big issue. I know that because for personal experience, our family lost 2 cars due to flooding within a 2-year period of time because of the water got so high on the street in front of our house, we lost both cars. Not cool. And the other thing that is worth pointing out is that part of the justification the mayor used to deem the town in need of rehabilitation was to point to our dated sewer system. Couldn't agree more. But here's the problem. They haven't done anything about it. All they're doing is adding One Westfield Place to the equation. Overdevelopment causes more flooding and drainage problems. Why? Water doesn't seep through concrete, it rolls off. You need soil and dirt and grass to absorb water. The more you keep developing, the more flooding and drainage issues we're gonna have. So look, for the love of God, if we do One Westfield Place, please put some of that pile of money towards fixing the sewer system, or we're all gonna have a big problem.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Kiefer, final question. Rahway Avenue, which already serves as the community's most direct access point to Route 22, is likely to become more congested over the coming years. What proactive steps should be taken along this corridor to help the community to prepare for the increase in activity?
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it takes us back to the first two topics you asked us about, unfortunately. If you want to get, and Broadway Avenue is very congested. My driveway backs out into Broadway Avenue, and it's very difficult already for us to get our cars to back out on Broadway Avenue. I don't know what it's going to be like when we put the athletic complex with all the fields right by the, across the street from where the football fields are. There's no question that traffic is going to get worse. And we're not even adding new parking down there. So you're going to have people parking all over the place to begin with. So, you know, again, I don't want to think I have some, like, I didn't come up here with an agenda to say, always say Fields, always say One Westfield Place. It's not what I'm trying to do here. But my God, like, you're talking about big traffic on Broadway Ave to 22. But what are we doing in response? We're putting fields right across from where there's existing fields that's already congested, and you're doing One Westfield Place on top of it, which will increase traffic, no matter what traffic consultants may have told you. More people, more cars equals more traffic. It's as simple as that. So I wish I could wave a magic wand to make Broadway Avenue more accessible. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get that way.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Katz, same question.
Sure, I just want to go back and clarify one thing, that surface parking lots, which is what all of the building for One Westfield Place are going to go onto, all, not colonial parking lots, concrete parking lots, the most impermeable surface. So One Westfield Place, just to correct you, would be an improvement over 30% of the stormwater runoff through various ways. Rahway Ave is a road, it's a connector road, it does the job it's supposed to. The Public Safety Committee is constantly listening to input from residents as to how we can better the traffic flow and mitigate any of the issues we have there. Hawk lights, we have crossing guards, we have extra crossing guards where necessary. We have 3 schools there, and it is very busy when school lets out. I live around the corner. In fact, Edison Fields is directly in between both of our houses. So I understand that when school is let off, but those fields are already fields. There will be the same activity after school today as there will be if the project or when the project passes. And after school, if you look at 6 o'clock when the schools.
Oh, that's time.
Sorry, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Can't stop talking.
we will now be moving into our closing statements, starting with Ms. Emily Root.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank you, Katie, for hosting this forum tonight, and for everyone in the audience and at home watching. I also want to thank Mr. Saunders, too, for being here and for voicing what he thinks is best for Westfield. But I want to thank the residents of Ward 1 for putting their faith and confidence in me a year ago when you voted for me to fulfill a 1-year unexpired term. It has been wonderful to again be up on the dais discussing the issues that are so important to Westfield residents. I have to say, though, that I don't recognize the dystopian Westfield described by my challenger during this campaign. A town with cars stolen every night, homes broken into every night, and gangs of outsiders drinking and doing crazy stuff in Mindawaskan Park. During the last 2 years, I've knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors across Ward 1 and talked to so many of our residents. Most of them are like me. They are so happy to live in Westfield. Is Westfield perfect? No. Can it be improved? Absolutely. And that's why I'm serving on the town council and running for re-election. I'm a proud stepmom, small business owner, stuttering specialist, and college professor. And when a position opened up on the council last year, I stepped up and offered to serve. Serving on the town council has been one of the most rewarding and fulfilling jobs that I've ever done. As you have seen over the past year, I've worked hard for Ward 1 and will continue to be there for all of the residents in Ward 1. Whether you've lived here a month, 5 years, or your whole life, you all deserve to be represented. I am proud to serve with Mayor Brindle and my council colleagues who have done so much to move Westfield forward, including those 75 miles of newly paved roads with 60% of the cost picked up by utilities, updated parks, a fully staffed police force and fire department, the lowest average tax increase, all while maintaining our healthy surplus, a AAA bond rating, and continued investments in our infrastructure. And yes, One Westfield Place. When Hanes Department Store proposed building their store in Westfield in the early 1960s, the residents at the time expressed similar concerns to the ones we hear today, that Westfield would lose its small town character, that it would bring increased traffic. Hanes was built and later became our beloved Lord and Taylor. But we have to accept the sad reality that times have changed. The mayor and council were proactive in engaging the owners of Lord and Taylor. We smartly used available redevelopment tools to help shape a project into something that I firmly believe will vastly improve our downtown. Look, I love this town. It's been my home for many, many years, and I plan to stay here for many, many more. It has been my honor and would continue to be my honor to serve the residents of Ward 1 over the next 4 years. I can't wait to keep my commitment to the residents of Ward 1. I'm eager to shape a brighter, more promising future, and I hope that you will support me on November 7th. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Saunders, we'll hear from you.
Thank you. So I actually rewrote my entire speech, the final statement, so please forgive me. But tonight, I think everyone here saw the true colors of Councilman Katz and the council people that he represents. What you see here is a rubber stamping machine that refuses to disagree with one another. You saw people here disagreeing with each other on many topics, disagreeing with one another, and reading word for word everything on their sheet of paper. Shelley, I know you're Mayor Shelley, I know you're a great leader, you were an executive HBO, and I hope you can publicly denounce one of your council people personally attacking someone's finances on this stage. We need change in Westfield. I hope you can be that leader. We need change in Westfield before we lose everything that makes us unique and great. My family has been here for over 60 years. I have a unique perspective on wanting to preserve the past, but also protect our future through smart development and innovation. To answer your question, Scott, on how I can afford a $2.5 million house, since you were so interested, I work 14 hours a day grinding. My wife has a full-time job, and we save every penny.
Your time is running.
I'm an entrepreneur that has always been passionate about small local businesses and creating jobs. Over the last 8 years, my small business has grown from 2 people to 150 people across the country, serving 3,000 small businesses. We've raised $90 million. We manage a budget of $50 million every year, and we've done multiple RFP processes. Small business is in my blood. My dad owns a small business in downtown Westfield. My grandparents own small businesses, and I started my career at Google working with small businesses. We need moderate, critical thinking and people that don't crack under pressure and attack people individually. I am for smart development. I am for new fields. I am for working hard with residents. We are letting national politics divide us in this town. We need to stop that immediately, and rather focusing on what's best for the political party, let's focus on what's best for Westfield. I promise to do that. I promise to vote on issues not based on party lines, but based on what's best for Westfield. I promise to earn your trust every single day. 6 months ago, I was in all your guys' seats. I had no interest in politics. My wife's not in politics. My husband's not in politics. I was in your guys' seats. The reason I'm here is because when I saw what was happening to our town, when I saw what One Westfield Place was doing, and when I saw the rubber stamping happening and the no hard questions happening on our dais, I stood up and I volunteered for this job. Please, before Westfield turns into a generic metropolis owned by a mega corporation with a monopoly on our downtown, let's make a change.
Saunders, that's time.
This is our final chance.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Hi. Thanks, everybody. All right. So now we are moving into our Ward 2 candidates, and we are going to begin with Ms. Vargas Garrison.
Thank you, Katie. First, I would like to thank the Westfield leader for hosting this event and Katie for being an excellent moderator. It's not an easy job. I'd like to thank Dr. Armento for participating in this forum with me and all who are here watching and those that are watching from home. Let me tell you a little bit about me, Erica Vargas Garrison, the person. Before I talk about me as a candidate, at the age of 4, I immigrated from the United States from Ecuador, joining my mother and grandparents who had already moved here a few years earlier. I did not speak the language, nor did I have any friends when I arrived. I felt alone and out of place, but my mother and grandparents instilled in me a sense of hope that only the American dream can provide. I've worked very hard towards achieving that American dream, and nothing made me feel like I had indeed achieved that dream more than the day I purchased my home in Westfield in 2005. I've called Westfield my home for 18 years. I live here with my husband, Robert, our daughter, Maya, who's 14, and our 3 dogs, Bella, Max, and Ozzy. I love our community, and I want to see it prosper now and for future generations of Westfield residents. That is why I decided to run for council in Ward 2. So let me tell you about me, the candidate now. I have been a public servant my entire career, and shaping the future of our community is of utmost importance to me. Over the past 6 months, I've had the opportunity to knock on doors and speak with my neighbors about their concerns and ideas ranging from paving to public safety to traffic and congestion concerns to keeping our small town charm. One thing that was made clear to me by my neighbors is that it's fine to have signs up in protest and speak out against issues, but it is more important that you state what you are for. So what am I for? I am for creating the best opportunities for our kids so that our kids can play sports in Westfield without the need to travel far and wide, which is why I am for the Edison Fields project. I am for smart growth that provides a public benefit while bringing vibrancy to our downtown, which is why I am for One Westfield Place. I am for a safer community, which is why I am for fully staffing our police and fire departments and implementing innovative initiatives and technology like community policing and license plate readers. I am for fostering a kind community, which is why I am for speaking out against hatred and acts of terrorism, such as what occurred this past weekend in Israel. Putting up signs in protest and having a platform against everything is easy. Coming up with ideas that result in solutions to the issues we face as a
That is
community
time. Thank you very much.
is a difficult job that I'm prepared to do. Thank you so much.
Mr. Armento, over to you.
While local politics are important, it's essential we put aside our differences and come together and denounce anti-Semitism and stand together with the people of Israel. Thank you, Lauren Barr and Katie Noem, the Westfield leader, for hosting this debate and forum, and thank you for all the residents for attending and viewing this event, and thank you, Ms. Erica Vargas Garrison, for participating with me. I've lived in Westfield for almost 30 years and I'm quite passionate about it. I've raised 2 wonderful children here and look forward to spending my retirement, which is not for a while, in Westfield. Westfield is a great town. The charm and character of Westfield is what draws so many people to it, not One Westfield Place. I asked Mayor Brindle at a town council meeting if she was urbanizing Westfield. She told me that my statement is not based in reality. The reality is she's putting a 65-foot plus office building on the train station south side parking lot. The Lord and Taylor building will be a 75-plus foot, almost double the present size building, and all present buildings can be increased to about 55 feet in the central business district. There are multiple residential buildings popping up around town now. Traffic will be worse. Parking will not be markedly improved. This, to me, as well as many residents from all political parties whom I've spoken to, is urbanizing Westfield. Westfield will not be the quaint, charming town that we know. This is the reality. As town council person, I pledge to ensure there's a strong two-way communication between myself and the residents. I will hold quarterly meetings with myself and Ward 2 residents so I can address their questions and concerns. I will put forth a motion that residents can speak for 10 minutes at town council meetings, not 5. That's the least we can do. I pledge there will be transparency. I will make sure that residents are well informed of the town council's plans well ahead of time and not given short notice. I pledge to seek safe, sufficient, and quality sports fields throughout the town for our children. I will work to make sure our tax dollars are spent wisely and the wealthiest companies in America are not given tax breaks, and that we do not give away the town's property. But if property is sold, there's a bidding process which maximizes the return for Westfield. As a pediatric physiatrist, listening to my patients and families is of the utmost importance. Listening to the residents of Westfield is essential. I will work tirelessly to lead Westfield into the future. Westfield is a phenomenal town. We do not want to lose its charm and character, but can develop it reasonably without urbanizing. This election is crucial for the future of Westfield. I hope you will trust me to lead Ward 2, and I hope to have the honor of your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. Ms. Nickel-Manning, over to you.
I would like to thank you, Katie, for being a great moderator tonight, and I would like to thank the Westfield Leader for hosting this event, and I would like to thank all of the candidates that are sitting on this dais. When I moved here to Westfield, my family and I made this decision because we wanted to be safe. Coming from the environment that we lived in, we realized that we needed to be somewhere we could raise our children, where they can receive a quality education. And I'm happy to say that my daughter graduated this past June from Westfield High School, and it was with the assistance of great educators and a great school program. As an educator, a union leader, and a pastor, I understand the need to serve and to ensure a good quality of life. Recently being awarded a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award this past August has given me greater excitement and wanting to volunteer and serve and work with others. I have my own voice and I have an ear to hear, and I want to represent the people in Ward 3. When I see something, if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And I'm going to speak up for it. And I am happy to say that when I first moved to where I live now and I visited Windsor Park, it was not up to par the way I think that it should be. I got in contact with my councilman. I also spoke to the mayor, and today I see improvements. So I can only give honor to where honor is due, and I must say that all of us, whoever is elected in these seats, a proverb comes to mind: without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. Let us make the right decision on November 7th. I ask for your support. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Domagallo, over to you.
Thank you all for your valuable time and attention tonight, and thank you to my wife, Jen, and children, Michaela, Jensen, and Joseph, for their continued love and support over the past 6 months. As your Ward 3 candidate, I have had the privilege of meeting many of you over the course of this campaign. Through our conversations, I gained a deeper understanding of your desire for a balance of transparency in our community. You want your voices to be heard and concerns to be addressed, and I'm here to ensure that that happens. We all share a common goal: securing a brighter future for our families and in this wonderful town that we all call home. What concerns me is the current majority of the council, which at times appears to adopt a mayor and council knows best approach. They've made decisions to bypass the democratic process, scoff at residents' input, and a lack of transparency that we expect from our local leaders. When One Westfield Place was introduced, it wasn't met with cheers, but with vocal opposition from residents from all backgrounds. It's concerning that a project of this magnitude wasn't subject to the proper price discovery, multiple bids, or negotiations. Many believed it only to be involved as the Lord and Taylor site. But it encompasses all the open parking space around the train station, sold at a discount to a retail conglomerate. Inclusivity should be a cornerstone of our council, but the current leadership has failed to unite our town in a way that truly represents the character of Westfield. If the mayor and her hand-selected surrogates were successful in retaining Westfield's small-town charm for this project, the town would not be in litigation. Residents would be cheering, and the mayor and candidates would not have to find ways to feed their egos by fabricating awards for One Westfield Place. On Edison Fields, I am proud of the respectful and constructive engagement by Westfield residents on both sides of the issue. I've listened and respected the opinions of those who support and oppose the project. I do support preserving well-maintained grass fields and will vote no. However, I won't stand in the way of our children enjoying the sports of the proposed fields, and that includes my own, if the referendum passes. I believe in being fair, evaluating risks, and making decisions based on careful consideration. I encourage everyone to continue seeking information and making informed choices. In a recent patch profile, I had proposed a route to potential compromise. I encourage everybody watching to go ahead and read that. To move forward, we must find a middle ground, avoid deadlock, and ensure that everyone's voices are not just heard, but truly listened to, Mayor. All of us in Westfield take pride in contributing in our own way. I believe that we, too, need to support new businesses in town, help them get established and simplify their ability to get up and running. I believe that when you go home at night, there should be no reason to worry if you locked your car. Not because you are protected, but because you do not have a fear of being in danger. As November 7th approaches, I urge all of you to engage with me, have meaningful conversations, and consider someone like me, Mike D.,
Sir,
for Ward
that's
3.
time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Katz.
I want to thank Lauren Barr and Katie Moen from the Westfield Leader for hosting this debate tonight, as well as my opponent David Kiefer for running an issues-based campaign. Thank you for those attending tonight, both in person and online. It is very important to be informed. I stand or sit before you today with deep gratitude for having had the opportunity to serve in town council these past 4 years. Tonight I've presented to you some information about my work and my vision for the future. I have a track record of service and dedication to this community, and I'm deeply committed to its well-being. I pledge to continue to be a leader who listens to your concerns, who works tirelessly on your behalf, and who makes decisions with your best interests at heart. I'm proud of the many initiatives I've been involved with over my term. As a member of the Finance Committee, we provided Westfield taxpayers a low 1.4% average tax levy over the last 6 years. This is a huge reduction from the previous administration. We have prioritized helping the Westfield Police Department and fire departments receive all of the tools necessary to effectively do their jobs. We've increased the police operating budget over $2 million since 2013, and our police and fire roles have increased to levels that are welcomed by their leadership. We've been able to provide significant road paving by being smart with our approach. Overall, since 2018, roughly 70 miles of road have been paved. Slightly different years we use there, Emily. That equates to 70% of the town's roads paved in 6 years. It's unprecedented, and this is something that we have learned to take for granted. That leads me to an enormous amount of communication that this administration offers to residents. The Town of Westfield website is a great resource. Town council meetings are live streamed, as was previously mentioned, and Nixle, See-Click-Fix are additional ways to receive pertinent information. I really appreciate being a part of HRAC, which is the Human Relations Advisory Commission, whose efforts are to celebrate our differences while also confronting difficult issues when necessary. The House of Worship Tour and Chalk the Walk, these are events that were well received in the town. At this time especially, we all benefit from events like these which bring us closer together as a community. I'm also proud of the Tour to Westfield, our community bike ride. The Tour to Westfield is a fun family event, and it's a great example of the benefit of having multiple organizations working towards the same goal. Smart development like Westfield Crossing and One Westfield Place will serve our community far into the future. With these projects, we are reaffirming that our downtown will meet the needs for the next generation. I want to apologize to the residents of the town of Westfield and all those seated here today, especially to my wife. It is not in my nature. I apologize for the statement I said to the Republican candidate for Ward 1. It is not in my nature to say something negative about somebody else. I take great pride in the fact that I went through two campaigns without saying a negative word at all about my opponent.
Thank you,
Again.
Mr. Katz. That's time. All right, Mr. Kiefer, over to you.
Thank you, and thanks to all the candidates today for running, and thank you, Scott, for your public service over the past 4 years. I decided to run based on my experience questioning and then opposing the One Westfield Place project. I didn't decide to run to keep opposing the project, though. I decided to run to change and oppose the way decisions are made in this town, the process by which decisions are made in this town. It was clear to me and the others that were involved in that opposition that by the time the One Westfield Place project was announced, the mayor and the council had made up their mind. They didn't really want to hear from people who had questions or oppositions. In fact, when we did offer those opinions, we were told that we were misinformed, which was odd, being that they were the ones that withheld information from us while they were in the back room with the developer all the months preceding. We were told that we were afraid of change, when all we wanted was to have an opinion on the change that was already happening beneath our feet. So, I started this campaign with one principle in mind: process matters. What does that mean? Well, it's very simple. Process matters because if you have a good process, you're more likely to have good decisions. If you have a bad process, you're more likely to come up to bad decisions. And Westfield, I gotta tell you, the process for making major decisions in this town is downright dysfunctional. We have got to get a grip on this. I mean, we are constantly presented with pre-baked false choices and told that's all we have to choose from. We either can choose from 300,000 square foot of commercial office space via a pilot with a multi-tiered parking garage that empties out into the busiest corridor in town, or we get no development. Because if you're against One Westfield Place, you must be against development. Then we're told that we need 6 acres of artificial turf fields in an already congested area, or you just don't want kids to play. These are false choices, and they're nonsense. We have the right to question basic market demands for commercial development, or whether or not they're met. We have the right to turn to established science when we want to look to the environmental impacts on health and safety for our families. That's what I will bring to the council, that sort of diligence, that sort of process. And I cannot promise you that everyone in this room will agree with everything I say or do. That's absurd. But what I can promise you all, even those who don't want me to come into council, I can promise you that I will listen to all voices, I will look at the data, and I will make up my own mind and not be told what to do from someone of higher authority. Why? Because my positions are not predetermined by political affiliation. I take great pride in the fact that I have support from independents, Democrats, and Republicans in my ward. I am humbled by that, and I will govern with hearing their voices if I'm on council. You have my word on that. Finally, now's the time, Westfield. Now's the time for change. It's as simple as that. We have a real choice in front of us. If you choose to change, we can change the process moving forward. We can start that process. If we don't, we're validating everything that happened up to this point.
Mr. Kiefer,
Thank you.
that's time. All right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's conversation. On behalf of the Westfield leader, I would like to thank TV 36 for their assistance in broadcasting tonight's events. I would like to thank all of you for joining us here tonight, and I would like to extend a special consideration to our candidates for joining us up here on the dais. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.